Today is June 24th, 2014, and this is episode 121 of Let's Talk Bitcoin. This program is intended for informational and educational purposes only. Cryptocurrency is a new field of study. Consult your local futurist, lawyer, and investment advisor before making any decisions whatsoever for yourself. Welcome to Let's Talk Bitcoin, a twice-weekly show about the ideas, people, and projects building the digital economy and the future of money. My name is Adam B. Levine, and today we're visiting with two new user-created asset projects. These interviews should not be taken as endorsements, and if something piques your interest, you really need to do your own due diligence on the opportunity. Ironically, and just as with early miners of new altcoins, the people who know best the value of these new projects are also the ones who, if the project isn't really a good one, benefit from it being misunderstood. Our interviews aren't scripted, questions are not given in advance, and they're edited only for content density and presentation, although they sometimes are edited quite a bit because people tend to ramble on and I tend to trim it down quite a bit. So anyways, that out of the way, we've got a really interesting lineup for you today. Andreas is back and recently sat down with Joel Dietz, co-founder of the upcoming Swarm platform. They talk crowdfunding, Swarm intelligence, golden tickets, and more. But first, I caught up with David Tyson and Lloyd Davis about their project Genercoin. Let's get started. Today on Let's Talk Bitcoin, we're joined by David Tyson and Lloyd Davis. Gentlemen, thanks for taking the time. Can you introduce yourselves to our listeners?
I guess I'll begin. My name is Lloyd Davis. I'm a researcher up here in Canada. I've been working in biofuels, solid biofuels, and liquid biofuels for about the last 7 years.
My name is David Tyson. I have an economics background and then been a trader most of my life, and now I've turned entrepreneur. I had a stint in real estate there up until the last bubble burst.
We're here to talk about Genercoin. Since user-created assets have started coming out, we've kind of had to reorient how we do these interviews. So the first question that I'm asking in all of these interviews is, what is the value concept behind what you're doing, and why aren't you just using Bitcoin instead of creating a separate token to represent this type of value?
I guess how I got into the whole Bitcoin cryptocurrency field was I was actually building a house, which I said I'm going to be done at the end of this month. And I was became aware of Bitcoin like most people did middle of the last year, once Bitcoin did its rise up after the Cyprus banking got shut down there for 3 days, and a lot of the Cypriots went into Bitcoin. But I realized that I could advertise my home for sale for Bitcoin, whether or not I ever did that or not. And I'd get a lot of media attention. So I proceeded to go down that road. And in my studying and learning more about the cryptocurrencies, I came across Mastercoin, their ability to embed data. And that was when the bells and whistles went off. I saw that many more of these altcoins or app coins, as they're now seem to be called, could be created. So I actually started to go down that road to create another, because my economics background, I really sort of see Bitcoin as a great innovation, and and also Mastercoin as well. But a lot of these other cryptocurrencies, I kind of see as almost like a crypto fiat occurring there as well. There's something like 255 of them now, or almost like a crypto sprawl as well. There doesn't seem to be too much of a rhyme or reason to a lot of them. And with an economics background, I believe a lot in intrinsic value. So I'm looking forward to creating currencies that are asset backed. So that was a long-winded answer to say, where's the value of this coin? It's asset backed, and that adds a lot of intrinsic value that most of these coins do not have.
So to be clear, when you say asset-backed, is it redeemable? Can I actually redeem a token for a fixed rate of something in the real world?
Yes, yes, it is asset-backed. My involvement and our Terran Renewables involvement in this was, we were just in the process of putting together a convertible bond issue to go sort of more Wall Street, Bay Street, traditional type sales. And that's when I got David and I basically found each other, and over a few coffees, this whole idea of producing an asset-backed coin came together. So in this regard, what we've worked it out to is each Genercoin is the equivalent of 10,000 BTU worth of biofuel, which if you need to sort of visualize it, it's about a pound. So think of about a pound of coffee grounds. And that's the energy backing, or that's the physicality backing the coin. And yes, is it redeemable? Absolutely.
So
just give me your home address and I'll ship it.
Okay. So it's redeemable for a type of biofuel. So tell me about this biofuel.
Well, what Artern has done in the 7 years that we've been in the lab working is we've created an alternative biofuel that's a direct replacement for coal. Period. Full stop. It's we can mimic all of the positive attributes of coal. There's only about 3, and get rid of all of the rest of the crap that comes along with combusting a fossil fuel.
So what are the advantages of combusting coal that you've managed to replicate, and what is the actual material that we're talking about here?
Okay, well, the advantages of combusting coal are its energy content in the 9 to 11,000 BTU range for thermal coal.
So it's very energy dense.
It's energy dense. Coal is hydrophobic in that if you leave it out in the rain, it's just going to get wet and dry off later. And its transportability and the infrastructure of the transportability. So the rail lines are already in place. The material handling facilities to deal with a material like coal are already in place. And because we mimic them on those 3 levels, we can directly substitute ourselves into the logistics chain quite easily. Now, benefits of going to an alternative or renewable fuel pickup is our product is made from one of the most common substances on the planet, cellulose. Cellulose is in your front lawn and your grass. It's in the leaves. It's in the trees. It's in your municipal solid waste. It's in your sewage system. Every feedlot or chicken producer out there is producing several tons of it on a daily, if not hourly basis. So as far as feedstocks and renewability, it's everywhere. When you make a biofuel out of a renewable, you close the carbon loop from 100 to 300 million years with fossil fuels down to how long does it take to grow some grass, or how long does it take people to produce some more municipal solid waste, or how long does it take a cow to process or perform their function in this value chain. There's just sort of no end to the feedstock, but it really does start putting caps on the amount of CO2 that's going to be emitted into the environment. But more so, and I mean, this is my knock on the combustion of coal, it's the other 68 toxic elements that are either aerosoled when you burn it or become part of the ash after it's burned. There's just so many problems with coal going forward. And I'm really pleased, when your president announced that, there is actually, I was listening to the head of the EPA, and there is a war on coal because it's about time. These people that know that, well, you can't eat too many fish because of the mercury. Where do you think the mercury came from? It's just absolutely time with, people with asthma, people with health issues because of the downstream effects of coal.
So you've developed this alternative and you've connected it with this user-created asset called Genercoin. So how do these things? So the one is redeemable. What is the goal of adding the token into this? What is the goal of making it redeemable? Are you fundraising with this?
We're pre-selling production, and then a portion of the fundraising is going to be expanding capacity. So Artern Renewables and David's company, Industrious Industries, have an arrangement, a contract to produce 800,000 bags of biofuel. A bag of biofuel is 300,000 BTU per bag, which equates to 30 Genercoins. And that way the people, the altcoin community that's getting involved in this, I mean, I am brand new. I got to admit this right up front. I am brand new to the altcoin. I'd heard about Bitcoin in the news and didn't give it a lot of thought. I'm busy. But since my introduction to this within the last 90 days, it really is one of those, I won't say holy crap moments, but there really is something to this cryptocurrency thing. If you've ever done international commerce, which we have, transferring money to vendors out of the country and in larger than $10,000 amounts, it's a pain, and the banks every step of the way decide to take a little piece of you. So I was intrigued just from that point. But then I thought about it about it more and doing some research, there are no real asset-backed coins that I can see. There's a couple that are speculating on metals. So there's silver and there's gold. Seemed to be as much substance there, and I thought, well, here's an opportunity to combine renewable energy, green technology, and new technology, and exciting technology. Both of us having that disruptive capacity, putting them together and seeing where it goes. I'm quite excited about the prospect.
So now you came to this solution, you said, after you had been looking at conventional Wall Street, Bay Street types of fundraising approaches. So can you kind of talk about, what was the thought there?
Well, the thought was, and I don't, hopefully there's no vulture capitalists listening to your show. Maybe hopefully there are. We were going to go the traditional route. Like, we've just started down this process. We have some capacity now, but we're absolutely looking to expand on that.
When I came across, it was just by accident that I came across Lloyd. I have some sustainable home aspirations. I want to sort of try revamp the way that society lives, actually. So I met his son, and he told me that was in biofuels, and I was like, oh, okay, we'll give me a home. In
dealing with the venture capital community, they tend to be a bit of a greedy lot, a demanding lot. And one of the things that, I'm fully aware of, and I've been contacted by some big companies, and, it's, yes, they have their desires, their wants. But my desire, my want with what we've created here with Arterium Renewables is for our fuel to completely replace coal at some point in the future. And the possibility for it is there. Like, if you go to the website, there's a lot of information on the website about, how we do it, what we do it, and the results of that we've had independently verified with a coal manufacturer, actually, way back. And we combined our product with theirs to see if we could empty a tailings pond of their waste. And we had an independent lab go over what we produced, and the results came back great. So we know we can go 50-50 with their tailings and get rid of that environmental hazard. But we also found out from that process that just the nature of our product, we could 100% replace them. So at that point, they went from being a potential client to, ooh, we're a competitor of yours. So, in dealing with the traditional Wall Street, Bay Street types, they all understand oil and gas, they understand coal, they understand energy. But renewables is a really fast growing emerging market. And next generation renewables, that the category we fit in, there's not a number of players in our space, but what we're doing is we're taking on two industries. We're taking on the wood pellet industry, which I'm completely happy with. I like these people. And we're taking on the coal industry. With wood pellets, we make a superior product. We have at least 50% more energy than they do per pound. And again, come back to, let's get rid of coal. Okay, we can do this now.
Going back to the token for a second, you're building this on the Mastercoin platform. Can you talk to us about how you made that decision and what the experience has been so far?
How I made that decision was I came across Mastercoin in the latter part of 2013, around Christmas, actually. And it was, as I said before, was the ability to embed data into their coin that brought to mind a whole host of products that can be created for them. And of course, they allow, as part of their master protocol, to issue new coins. So me not having a programming background and definitely not being a techie, saw that as an avenue to create new coins. Of course, some of the new ones that are coming out now in regards to Ethereum, and I'm sure, Adam, you know a lot more about them, but they weren't around at that particular time. But I was already going down the road on creating another asset by silver, actually. Yeah, I've already developed a relationship with a few of the people there, mostly just one of the programmers. So that's sort of how this came about. And of course, they've had their made safe sale, and that's it had some issues, but it's probably a resounding success. Doing everything. So we're very pleased to be launched through Mastercoin.
Hey there, LTB listeners. If you'd like to be one of the first to receive LTB coin, now is the time to prepare, and you'll need to do two things. First, visit counterwallet.co and generate a free multi-wallet that holds Bitcoins, LTB coins, and anything else built on Bitcoin using the Counterparty protocol. With one click, you'll generate a secure 12-word password, and you'll want to keep that safe as it is your private key. Once you've created your password, log into your wallet. You'll see 3 brand new Bitcoin addresses you control. Copy one of those addresses and then head over to letstalkbitcoin.com and register an account in the upper right-hand corner of the page. Inside your account, you'll have a few options, one of which is My Profile. Click on that, and at the bottom of the page, you'll see a place to put your LTB coin address. Paste your newly created Bitcoin address, save the changes, and you're done. When we release LTB coin later this month, you'll be all set. So thanks for listening. Back to the show. So how much are you trying to raise? What are the terms that you're offering to people? You mentioned that there was a fixed BTU amount of fuel figure. Is that something that is going to change over time, or is that just that's the rate that it's always going to be?
No, it will always be 10,000 BTUs. I can't see how that should ever be allowed to be changed. What could change, though, is, of course, the value of the content, the value of those 10,000 BTUs, and that's dependent on the market, which, of course, for these renewables, as the world keeps forcing, but as the world keeps heading towards a world of non-fossil fuels, then the demand for renewables is going to keep going up, and therefore the price should as well.
And I have to echo what David said there, that a 10,000 BTU solid biofuel is actually a very significant number. Like I say, I've been doing this for a long time. And I recall a couple of years ago, the Wall Street Journal announced a super pellet, and it was a wood pellet manufacturer had announced that they had produced a 10,000 BTU pellet. But upon further examination of their claims, they were using diesel fuel as a binder to hold the material together. So a bit of an erroneous claim. So to come up with a truly innovative process, and we believe that's what Artern has done, we have the ability to make between 10 and 12,000 BTU per pound. So, we can replace the softer coals on the bottom end, but we are also approaching the level of replacing anthracite on the high end. And we picked the 10,000 BTU as a number because, one, it's a significant number in the energy industry. It matches the BTU of the coal that they're using in most of the thermal coal plants around the world. Just to carry on, as far as an asset backing it, like currently the Genercoins, and as far as the issue price, I'll let David sort of explain that. But at 6.2 cents per Genercoin, what that works out to, and the price of bioenergy is a commodity, and there's a number of companies out there that track it. The one that I prefer is Argus Market Reports. And currently, the price of biofuels, renewables, is going up. So that 10,000 BT of renewable fuels, we're at about 1.5 to 1. The biofuel is actually worth about 50% more than the coin is right now.
Yeah, so it's actually, Lloyd, it's a little close to the 9.4. It's actually 9.38 US cents. So with a trading background, I'd like to be able to say that's a 51% return on equity, but our return on investment, we're going to call it a discount.
One of the interesting things about Genercoin compared to some of the other types of tokens that I've seen, there's a company called Digital Tangible Trust, and they essentially let you buy a gold bar or a gold coin or some other type of precious metal, and instead of them taking possession of it, you buy it from a dealer, and then you have it sent to a vault, and then instead of your name owning it, the token essentially owns it, and it can be controlled and reclaimed with the token in real life, but its ownership can trade otherwise. That's a non-fungible way to do one of these tokens, where every single bar is a different asset. And what you've created here is something where you have a very energy-dense substance that is incredibly granular. I mean, you're talking about pellets, so this, I imagine, can go down to the grams worth of fuel. So it's a very interesting. I really do think that you have the first really redeemable, granular. You don't need to get $100,000 of it in order to do it. Token that I've seen. So let me ask. So as it stands right now, you have production capacity. When
Yes.
will you have the ability to actually deliver on this forward production that you're selling in order to fund the expansion? How long is that gap?
Between 9 and 12 months, so between 3 and 4 quarters from now. So we're anticipating for those that want their fuel redeemed. Now, in discussing this, we thought, well, there's going to be people in the coin community that maybe they heat with wood pellets, and maybe they would like to buy a bag of a higher density, better fuel. Let's sort of make some sort of accommodation that if somebody wants to buy a bag, a 30-pound bag of a biofuel, great. They can buy their Genercoins, and we would be constantly updating the website. And those people that want to redeem their tokens for the fuel, give us a shout. Let us know where we're sending this stuff. For those that wanted to buy larger quantities, it typically takes if you're in the northeastern states, you might go through a ton a month to heat a regular sized house. Great. Purchase enough tokens to cover off a ton and let us know where you want it to be sent. We'll make those arrangements for you.
Does it include delivery?
No.
Okay.
But one of the things, and we've thought about the logistics of it, and a container is approximately 28 tons. So, for example, let's say there is a bunch of interest in the northeastern states. We put together a container. It would bring the delivered price down to a additional dollars per bag, and it would still be an affordable biofuel because basically our arrangement is at with David in Industrious Industries is at the wholesale price. So it's about $2 a bag of biofuel. Retail is about $5.
Are we talking about the initial price, or are we talking about how the market is determining the price that it should trade once it's out there?
Well,
the way we price the fuel, the way the coin gets valued against the fuel is electricity is a commodity, and current pricing for electricity is around the $31 a megawatt hour range. So in our case, when we produce fuel, a ton of our fuel, a megawatt hour is 3.4 million BTU. Our biofuel is about 22 million to 28 million BTU per ton. So we're in the 6 to 7 megawatt hours per ton of fuel. Now that's a commodity price that's fixed, that the coal industry uses, wood pellets use it. And there's no reason for us not to apply the same sort of math to our fuel. And I want to stop there because that's just going down a rabbit hole that it gets really geeky and very mathy.
So is it safe to say that you guys feel like this is a very good value that you are offering to people, and that they are wise to take you up on it now before it's properly understood? Well,
I couldn't agree with that statement more. The current valuation of the token, and that's a fixed price. So the 6.2 cents per coin, that's fixed. Now, since we've started down this process, the biofuel based on its energy content should have been, when we first started this conversation, 60, 90 days ago, would have been closer to 8 cents. But the rise in the economics of biofuels, we've gone from around 8.2 cents to we're now around 9.35, probably heading for 9.4. And then with the heating season coming up and the purchase of material, plus all the facilities that are switching to renewables, it is what it is. It's 9.35 now. But anybody that wants to look at it, don't take my word for it, go check. And it's quite on the rise. And then there's a lot more. Just with the recent announcement from President Obama, and say coal on its way out, the prices are even going to go higher. So we're totally comfortable in how we're back. As far as from our Terrence perspective, we're totally comfortable in how we're backing the Genercoin and the value that we offer.
I can expand on that a little bit. Currently, out of Port of Vancouver, the price per ton wood pellets is $155 a ton. Now, if we were to be priced at that, we would be $206 per ton because we're more energy dense. But it's still the same math that goes into determining why wood pellets are $155. We would be $206. So out of the Port of Vancouver, you got wood pellets at $155 a ton. But Argus Reports is already reporting that there's been 6 containers so far this year that have gone off to Southeast China at $200 a ton. So this is the direction that the market is heading as we keep pushing away from the production of from electricity from coal. Is we need another. Solar isn't about to do it on its own yet. It's although solar is taken off by leaps and bounds. It was second only to natural gas in terms of electricity production at the end of last year, and is in the United States it's 74% of all new energy created so far at the end of the first quarter here. What we really see is with Arteran and solar and the other renewables is the days of fossil fuels are really coming to an end. To expand upon that a little bit more, in terms of Canada, if just the municipal solar, just the manure in Canada, it's going to sound like we got shit laying all over the place, but
a little bit.
if just the manure in Canada in 2006 was turned into Arteran's biofuel, it would fuel 60 million homes for 1 year. That's almost twice our population. So this truly is an abundant fuel source, renewable source of energy. And it's the crypto community really has an opportunity here to get behind this and help bring an end to coal and really an end to fossil fuels altogether.
So talk to me about the legality of this, because you guys are real companies. A lot of times when we talk to people who are starting user-created assets, they're individuals or musicians or things like that. And I'm curious, what the process was on that and how comfortable, frankly, you are. Is this a risk that you feel like you're taking at all, or do you feel like you're on real steady ground?
No, I don't feel on a risk. Trust me, I've had so many appointments with the lawyers, and they've hammered into me that there's a certain way that we've got to go about this, and there's ways that we definitely can't. It probably would have been a lot simpler for us, and I don't think Lloyd would have had an issue with this. If we could have offered up some equity, he would have been willing to do that when he was going to Wall Street or Bay Street. But currently in the crowdsourcing realm, you're not allowed to offer up equity yet. Although that is changing in the very near future, so that is exciting. But that would have been exciting if we could have offered a coin, which would have maybe had some interest on it and could have been convertible into some equity shares, and the general public actually could have got to own a piece of this rather than cutting out the venture capitalists or vulture capitalists, as Lloyd says.
Well, while you guys were talking, I just shuffled across the office and grabbed Plan D. And one of the things going forward with this is if the regulations allow it and things change, I think that would be a wonderful opportunity for the coin community, that if you didn't want to take your biofuel or you didn't want it redeemed in a way that you're going to take it home and combust it or use it for those purposes, if it changes, I would be totally fine with doing something like, instead of redeeming for the fuel, we could work out some sort of formula that would allow you to return it for equity. Because I think, like say, the potential partnership going forward with the coin community is there's so many positives to it.
Perhaps people could buy the equity coin with the fuel coin,
if that's allowed. Again, David had his conversation with his lawyers. I had it with our general counsel, and the gist of it is, this is not, we can't at this point in time say that this is a potential investment opportunity, but have we given it some thought? Oh yeah, we've given it a lot of thought and thought, why wouldn't we want to do something like this to the benefit of more and make it more of a distributed opportunity? Because for the general public, for the little guys, not the VCCs, not the brokers and Wall Street, but for the little guys to get in on these opportunities at this level, at this early stage, there's a tremendous upside to renewables. Anybody that's familiar with the renewable market knows that it's double digits and exponential growth. So why not? But again, I have to backtrack on all of that and say, as it sits right now, legislation in Canada, legislation in the US precludes us from even having this conversation. But if it does change, we're going to have this conversation, because I think this is just a tremendous opportunity.
So the pre-sale is ongoing. You just started a couple of days ago. What are the relevant places people can learn more about this if they're interested?
Well, Arterian Renewables has the frequently asked questions and most of the business plan summary on there. But I think it really does, in simple terms, explain the renewable fuels market. But then it also explains, our positioning in that marketplace. So Arterian Renewables, as it sounds, I don't know if where you're going to publish this, but for those of you listening, Arterian, Arterran, renewablesplural.com, or even simpler, just go to the Genercoin site, and the Genercoin has links back to the Arterian Renewables site.
So the Genercoin site is genercoin.io or genercoin.com?
Genercoin.io. That's more in regards to the sale metrics of the coin.
And so how long does the sale go on? What are the specifics of it?
Well, I guess maybe we should discuss a little bit about what the future could be. And you alluded to it. Actually, Adam, you brought up a very good idea that down the road, if the law allows for it, that the asset-backed coin could be swapped for an equity-backed coin, I guess. But the potential future of this coin, or not, this is just a single issuance, and we just issue up to 30 million coins is what they've created 35 million, but we were only expecting to release about 30 million of them. The potential is that as more Arterian plants are deployed around the world, that the same model can be used where the fuel is pre-sold to generate the money to build those plants, and in the process, more coins are issued, which are now tradable or redeemable for the fuel, or if it turns out to be an equity proposition at that particular time. As my website alludes to there's a white paper out which talks about the benefits of having an energy-backed coin, and that because of the utilitarian factor of energy, meaning it's spread out across society, it's way more defensible against inflation or inflation spikes and deflation spikes. Not so much so as gold or silver, is prone more to spikes because, well, not everyone has gold and silver. So it's in a very few hands. So I see the long-term potential of the coin on its own is, becoming a future currency for the world.
Is there any fixed supply limit to this, or are you simply saying that you're going to essentially continue to create more as production expands? And so you're not, the supply grows numerically, but you're not actually inflating because it's all backed by a redeemable, fungible commodity, which is this fuel. Is that right?
Yeah, you're 100% correct on that. As far as any sort of restriction on supply, no. I mean, we talked earlier about manures, and as I look out over our storage lot, I have 2,000 tons of cattle manure that sometime in the near future I'm going to start processing it, and the cows just keep making more. So trees grow, lawns grow, people throw away paper and cardboard. All of these things, it's an absolutely mountain of available feedstock for our process.
Available feedstock is different than currency amount, and currency amount is at the root of what I'm trying to get at here. And what I'm asking is, when you've expanded production, are you going to expand the number of tokens that are created, or are you going to just resell the tokens essentially that people redeem with you so do you understand my question?
I think I do now, and I would suggest that as we redeem the tokens, we would just resell the tokens again.
One of the things that sort of helps people to know whether or not, how they feel about a coin is whether or not it has a good forward-looking schedule for what the currency issuance will be, because that kind of tells you how much, relatively speaking, you're being diluted. But in the case of your coin, that's not necessarily true. So I'm just trying to figure out if there are any sort of unsustainable venues that, need to be kind of brought up.
Okay, from my perspective, there's going to be no dilution, period. As we said, we've created 35 million tokens. 30 million of them are available. That's it. Done. We're not gonna. There's no reason to issue more. But as the coins are redeemed, then come back to us. More. That's when they become available for resale, but never exceeding 30 million tokens.
So given you've now said that it's fixed at 35 million, and you've also said that the amount, that the value of each is fixed at 10,000 BTUs. doesn't that mean that you kind of cap your ability to expand BTUs? I mean, like, it seems like that the amount of BTUs itself sort of has to be floating once you've passed a certain point, like, because it will want to float up, right?
All that really has to happen here, Adam, is Lloyd just has to make sure that he produces as many BTUs as the amount of coins that are issued. So,
right.
That's, I think it's supposed to be almost about 11,000 tons. But yeah, so he's going to produce probably much more than 11,000 tons.
Yeah, that's not a very big pile in our world. That's I would suggest going forward, when all 30 million coins are out there, we can satisfy the asset backing of that probably somewhere around 18, 19 months, or from the end of the crowd sale and the start of the production to satisfy the asset backing. It cannot be business as usual, and our Terran is about not business as usual. This is time for a change, and we believe we have a part of the solution as part of the total energy that's required for everybody. I can be reached through the website on the Contact Us page. My direct cell number is there for anybody that wants to have a conversation. We have a Facebook page if you want to communicate that way. But we're here to answer questions. We haven't published all the answers, so you haven't been asked all the questions. So if anybody wants to get in touch with us, go ahead, feel free.
Gentlemen, we look forward to your continued progress in the space.
CryptoKit is the world's first Chrome browser Bitcoin wallet. It's the easiest, fastest Bitcoin wallet payment system. With a simple one-click install, it takes just seconds to get your wallet set up. And because CryptoKit finds the address and payment for you, there's no more fussing around or tab switching. CryptoKit is more than just a wallet. It comes with a preloaded PGP encrypted social network, news feeds from Reddit and Google, and up-to-date charts from exchanges. Finally, CryptoKit Directory allows you to make two-click payments with any of the BitPay merchants. Once you install CryptoKit, you won't need anything else. For more information or to download CryptoKit, visit CryptoKit.com.
Hi, Stephanie here. Would you like to turn your book into an enthralling audiobook? Need a persuasive commercial to promote your company? How about a narrator for your explainer video? Here's where I can help. I'm a freelance voiceover artist, and since 2009, I've lent my voice to dozens of audio projects. To hear some examples of my work, check out my website, smvoice.info. If you like what you hear, I'd love to be the voice of your next project. Get in touch at smvoice.info.
With us today on Let's Talk Bitcoin, we have Joel Dietz, who is the leader of Swarm, a new crowdfunding platform that uses cryptocurrencies in order to enable various organizations or companies to crowdfund. Is that a pretty good description, Joel?
Yeah, that's pretty good, Andreas. Thank you.
Swarm is something that just launched, but I know you've already raised some money behind it. Can you describe what Swarm does and give us a bit of the history of Swarm?
Yeah, absolutely. So I got very interested in the whole Bitcoin 2.0 stuff a few months ago and was poking around with Ethereum stuff. But my own background is sort of engineer who likes to ship things and have the full kind of product. So that stuff wasn't really ready to go just yet. It wasn't production ready, you could say. And so I was poking around, and various parties, including Adam, pointed me towards Counterparty, and was looking at the functionality there. Talked with a bunch of people who were involved with smart contracts, and it was just clear that this new technology set was enabling a new type of crowdfunding that was potentially much more effective than the sort of old way of doing crowdfunding in a sort of Kickstarter or other type of mode. So the kind of ability to easily, create, assets, and these are things that are easy to do in something like Counterparty, to create your own asset and, sort of, raise funds and have it sort of represent some kind of project or product or even kind of equity in a company. So basically, I realized that technology was available, and it just sort of needed this usability layer where people could easily access and kind of get the information, around it, and sort of these kind of Kickstarter-y things. And so I was just, a lot of people were sort of interested in this, and there was a lot of kind of positive energy that seemed to come out of this particular use case. And I was also just really like this idea in the past of creating coins that have different sort of utility without kind of creating your own blockchain to support them. So I like the Bitcoin blockchain, and I don't, want to see it fail, even though there are these problems, obviously, with the kind of 51% and other things. So,
who is part of Swarm today? Yourself? Are there other founders in the team?
Yeah, that's right. So Jeff Commons is a designer from Belgium. He's, did a lot of educational stuff for Bitcoin in Europe. And we met in San Francisco and sort of hit it off. Obviously, there's not a lot of really kind of designer usability folks in the Bitcoin community. And we kind of had a similar vision for setting a very high bar for, really good user experience. And we were joined later on by our COO, Ben Ingram, who's a sort of serial entrepreneur, does a lot of things in cloud computing space. He's kind of leading the operations and sort of sales side of things. And we also have a couple other people who've been helping us in a more limited capacity with community engagement.
In a similar fashion to Let's Talk Bitcoin's LTB coin, I understand you're using the Counterparty metacoin or platform in order to base Swarm on. Is that correct?
That's right.
Tell me a bit about the choice of Counterparty.
Well, there's one really killer feature in Counterparty right now, and that is the dividend feature. And that is basically that you can issue an asset on top of any other asset to someone who has these assets. That we just saw as being a really compelling potential way to have this sort of long-term incentivization for different people and different projects. So I think that any at least of us just looked at Mastercoin or Counterparty, that people, get into it expecting that going to go up. There's sort of this use value of the currency within the network. But sometimes that's not really enough for kind of long-term incentivization. So if you want to bring on really, and I think Mastercoin has had this problem very clearly. You want to bring on really talented developers and then offer them, a bunch of, 10 Mastercoins or something. It's not really sufficient incentivization for them to stick with the project for, a year of kind of full-time effort that it takes to build a really good product. We're kind of looking at this instead of just having sort of one coin, but to have a lot of different coins and then use dividend feature to give people who have our coins, the Swarm coin, kind of a little portion of all of these other coins.
A company that comes to Swarm looking to raise capital in order to, say, launch a new product or service or financial service or some kind of company, they would issue their own company coin, and part of that would be Swarm. Can you explain a bit how that works?
Yeah, absolutely. So you come to us and say, we want to launch on Swarm. Some small portion of your initial coin offering is going to be distributed back to people who have Swarm coins. And that may not be, a massive, economic stimulus for people who have Swarm coins, but it does sort of have this user engagement where every time someone is launching, they're kind of giving back to the sort of the whole Swarm network, and everyone can, it kind of has a marketing effect as well, where everyone who's part of the Swarm, network can see what kind of, projects are launching via Swarm and get some kind of information about them, and, potentially also participate in the crowd sale themselves. So that's a secondary benefit of it, is first of all getting these coins back, but you're also getting sort of early access to these crowd sales that are happening on our platform. And what we expect is, there will be a lot of things that, just come out, and then basically just within people in the Swarm network, they kind of cover the crowd sale just themselves, so that it never kind of goes to a larger public.
Why would a company choose to use Swarm versus using Counterparty directly to launch their coin?
We're building up some really interesting, I guess I could call it IP, but it's really just sort of intelligence, Swarm intelligence around how to structure crowd sales. We're launching this paper for the Swarm Intelligence Fest academic conference at Notre Dame University on sort of the crypto economic systems and how they evolve, kind of using user agent modeling. So I think we're going to have a good idea basically on the data that we're gathering now of optimal ways to structure crowd sales. So that's just one kind of aspect. And then the other aspect is having a usable interface that allows people who may not be technical to get in on the sale. And in fact, in our own, thing, you can look at our website, we have these instructional videos that didn't exist prior in kind of Counterparty world. And we've had a ton of people also who were not part of the Bitcoin world before who said, I want to get Bitcoins in order to participate in the Swarm sale. So I get a couple messages of this, every day from people that just, I kind of thought Bitcoin maybe was interesting before, but I never thought it was, worth it to actually get Bitcoins. And now I want to get them so I can participate. In fact, just before this call, I was walking through someone to do that. If you want to reach a wider audience, then you would probably want to do it via Swarm. And, if you do have a very kind of core, crypto audience, then, that is very savvy with these things, then probably you don't need us. But, even then you might actually reach out of your kind of core audience to a larger audience because you're doing it via Swarm.
So if Counterparty is the platform, Swarm is a re-implementation or building on top of that to provide more niche services around crowd sale. Would that be a good way to understand it?
Yeah, exactly.
Let me ask you then a more pointed question. Essentially, a company that comes to you to do a crowd sale in order to raise funds to do some kind of venture. That sounds very much like an IPO. How do you feel about the legal implications of that? And are you having any concerns that if that is seen as an IPO, as we've seen in previous cases in the Bitcoin community, the SEC might get rather interested in your activity and ask you some pointed questions too?
Yeah, I think we're absolutely going to get hauled in front of the SEC at some point. And, there's some things that did a lot of due diligence before deciding what we're doing to see what we think is, possible to do and what not to do. Some of the things we're doing, I think, are very clearly okay, but some of them are definitely in a gray area that I think there's no real definition around from the SEC side. And I'm sure they'll bring definition at some point, and, we'll be part of those conversations. I hope we get out of it, without having fines or something. But, I'm willing to take these kind of risks because I think it's just moving the whole, space and kind of technology set forward. And, it's just a very, very clear use case for the stuff that has, a broad benefit to society. And the other thing is that, one of the core things that we're building out at this point is decentralized due diligence. I think there's a huge problem right now in the space with kind of these altcoins that have no real value, scamming people and all of this. But the other alternative is, okay, the SEC decides, or, some centralized organization, decides what should be listed and what shouldn't. And there's a lot of friction around that. So if we can build a kind of system that says this is a legitimate project that has real people behind it that are actually building, real product at the end of it, or attempting to, then I think that will be a much, very compelling use case to say, look, like this community has the ability to kind of regulate itself. It's not going out and defrauding people. We're actually providing this real benefit instead of some kind of new scam coin.
Are you going to be doing due diligence on the companies that are submitting for crowd sales on your platform? And in that, if you do due diligence, then you expose yourself to you should have known better. And if you don't do due diligence, then it's open to anyone.
So we're trying to do neither of those really, in the sense of allowing, I don't know if you know how eToro works or some of these other platforms, but allowing people to show up and say, look, we know these people who are associated with this project or whatever and are looking into it. And we, are basically endorsing this project. And you can see a number of different endorsements from different parties. So, Adam or, you, Andreas, can show up and say, look, I'm endorsing this particular addition to the Counterparty platform because we know these guys and they're good and they're actually go and build this. And then, that be there as endorsement that other people could see, and people could see the track record of all the endorsers. So you can say, okay, this guy endorsed these, 10 projects in the past year. 3 of them died miserable deaths, but 5 of them are still around and doing well, and 2 of them did really, really well. And kind of allowing the person to make a decision based on this kind of decentralized due diligence.
From my perspective, I can tell you that I generally don't do endorsements, or rather not generally, I don't do endorsements. And even not doing endorsements, people sometimes take the fact that I tweeted about a company because I find it interesting to be an endorsement, or even that I consulted for a company to give them technical advice to be an endorsement. And then if things go they expect me to have done some kind of due diligence, which is rather ridiculous, but that's the risk of endorsements. I don't do endorsements explicitly because I don't think, well, first of all, I don't have the time to do the due diligence required to do an endorsement, and because I'm worried that people will listen to me and not do their own due diligence. There's certain risk in putting trust in endorsements. How do you feel about that?
I feel like in the early stages, it'll kind of be a free-for-all. We'll have to probably spend some or significant amount of effort ourselves in kind of vetting things and projects so that we don't lead to things that are defrauding people. But I think eventually that system will be very, effective. And I think one of the really exciting things about it, and this is one of the things I've learned from looking at platforms like eToro, is that there could be some, 17-year-old in Bulgaria who's just really good at evaluating projects, and you can go out and get a really good sense, kind of sniffing whatever intuition that something's going to do well or not. And then other people can just see the success of these different people and kind of follow the people who are, consistently successful and then, longer term.
So you're looking to do wisdom of the crowds essentially together with funding from the crowds.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly what that is looking like is something that we're planning to release by a kind of coin summit in London. So we have pretty good specs on the back end stuff, but we're going to put a little more definition and then actually push that out so people can see what that part of it looks like. It's very core, I think what we're doing, so it's not like anyone can just invest, but then no one knows what they're actually investing in.
This is still in the early stages from what I understand. You've started raising money in order to build the Swarm platform, but you don't have any crowd sales yet. When do you expect the first crowd sale to happen on this platform or beta?
We expect to announce them on July 10th, and we expect to actually start at least one sale by end of July, so probably July 23rd, 24th.
Just to wrap things up, if people want to get more information, what's the website to visit to learn more about Swarm, and how can they participate? How can interested parties participate in this if they think they want to?
Our website is swarmcorp.com. The instructions are there if you want to participate in the crowd sale. It's ongoing. We've done, a pretty substantial amount so far. All you really need to do is create a counter wallet, put some Bitcoins in it, and then send it to the address that's on the site. And then you get Swarm.
Is there a minimum amount?
There's no minimum ticket, but I guess the current exchange rate is about 5,000 Swarm per Bitcoin. So if you do less than a 5,000th of a Bitcoin, you won't get any Swarm coin. So I don't know.
All right, so 1/5,000th of a Bitcoin is the minimum investment. So any projects coming up that you like? Give us a preview, given that this program won't air for 2 weeks. We'll announce a bit more detail about upcoming plans for Swarm.
Yeah, well, one of the reasons why we agreed to do a very large cap, so our total cap is 21,500 Bitcoins, is because we got a lot of interest from experienced investors in the coin-based model. And we've had a number of people in different cities. Right now we have 4 different cities are committed to doing coin-powered accelerators, where it's very much like a Y Combinator for crypto, create an accelerator coin via the Swarm network, and we would actually finance a good portion of that coin starting off. And then that coin, which is going to represent an accelerator in a particular city, is then going to have an application cycle for 30 days to take other startups. And then each one of those startups will do their whole structure via a coin. And I think this is going to be really compelling as far as sort of network effect, where people are participating in the success of these startups, even in places where they aren't physically located. And we've just basically seen a lot of interest in that. And we'll be making some announcements related to that on July 10th. Very, very impressive people who've kind of come to support these projects and agreed to be mentors already.
Do you want to talk a bit about Golden Ticket and what that is?
Yeah, so one really interesting thing about Swarm is we're, very interested in building up this kind of network. And if you read our description of what you get out of Swarm Coin, obviously you get this kind of other product and kind of preferred access to other sales and things like that by Swarm. You also get entrance to these sort of swarm related events, and we're throwing a really big party in London. So people who have the gold ticket get special access to certain things in the context of these parties. I can't reveal all the details at this moment, but yeah, that's sort of part of our swarm vision.
Thanks for listening to episode 121 of Let's Talk Bitcoin. Content for this episode was provided by David Tyson, Lloyd Davis, Andreas M. Antonopoulos, Joel Dietz, and Adam B. Levine. This episode was edited by Denise Levine and Adam B. Levine. Music for this episode was provided by Jared Rubens, General Fuzz, and Gertie Beats. Any questions or comments? Email Adam at letstalkbitcoin.com. Have a good one.